Hey guys, Mr. Happy here, and today got another Final Fantasy XIV video for you guys. We finally have an official announcement and the threads have opened up for the live letter with the producer 14. This is going to be on May 24th at 4 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So as usual, every time we're allowed to ask questions for the live letter, I always go on the forums and I ask like 10 to 15 questions, and then I share them with you guys. And I want to get you guys on the forums as well, asking your questions. There's no question that's ever a bad question, so feel free to go to the forums after this. There is a link for where you can go to post under all of them in the description below, and also feel free to discuss my questions in the comments below as well. So there were not too many topics here, but there were some interesting ones. Of course, most of them we know very little about. So I'm going to start with my general questions for patch 2.3. My first question was about add-ons. Will add-ons be ready for patch 2.3? If so, how many features do you expect it to allow work on? Now, I asked it a little bit more in depth. They actually said that add-ons are done and they're just picking a time to release them. So it's not so much if they'll be ready for 2.3, but what they're going to bring. And they've said that it'll bring things like being able to see your party members TP, so seeing information that wasn't previously available, and then changing around your UI were the two things I remember them saying at the Fate in Tokyo. I want to see if they have a little bit more, they can expand a little bit more on what they're expecting the API to allow users to create with it. And my second question was, are any improvements or adjustments being made on the current materia system to allow it to be more useful to those who have been obtaining raid level gear? Now, this has always been a big thing with me. I don't understand why the materia market has to stop with crafted gear. I don't understand why raid level gear doesn't have room for materia. It would definitely revitalize spirit bonding parties, which would bring a little bit more life into the world. It would revitalize the economy a little bit. Crafters would be a little bit more in demand and be able to provide their services for a fee a little bit more, and it's just healthy. I mean, I don't understand why it's really limited to once you are no longer using gear that is crafted, you no longer make use of this system as a whole. It seems like a lot of work for not a lot of reward. And my third question, this was PvP related. Are ranked teams going to be introduced into the Wolves Den? I made a whole huge PvP video about the Wolves Den and some of the problems that it has, but I really would like to see ranked teams. That is the only real type of PvP that I enjoy. I don't enjoy just ranking up and then being done. I really do enjoy more competitive environments, and just grinding to level up isn't really a competitive enough environment for me. So hopefully we'll get some answers to some of these questions in the live letter. Now, the next thing they mentioned was daily hunts. Now, this was interesting to me because obviously the first thing that comes to mind is maybe Final Fantasy XII with the Elite Mark system, or even Final Fantasy XI. Not so much daily hunts in Final Fantasy XI. I don't remember specifically going out and hunting enemies, but I mean, just the idea of going out and killing enemies on a daily basis to get some sort of reward. I'm hoping it's not just going to be common enemies, but let me get into my questions. So since we have no information about them, absolutely zero, I asked some pretty common questions. Will the unique rewards from daily hunts be something other than minions? I mean, it's great that they put minions in there for us to kind of work towards, and it's good and it's fun, and if you don't actually want them, you can sell them for some profit, but you really can't just keep making minions the main draw for every new piece of solo to small group content that there is out there. There needs to be something more, and until housing is a little bit more popular, the housing areas are a little bit more populated, I just don't see, there's not enough reason to go out and do these things as often as they'd expect. Maybe you make a little bit of money, get some shards, and I'm thinking mostly with treasure hunts. I just like to see a little bit more put into the daily hunts than, hey, there's a rare minion that you can get if you do it. It's just not enough for me. Also, will this be solo content or small group content? I'm assuming there will be a little bit of both, similar to the way treasure hunts work, but it's just a common question that I had to get out there since we have no information about what daily hunts are going to achieve. So moving on from that, we got into item desynthesis, or salvaging, as Yoshi-P almost accidentally called it at the Fate in Tokyo. And this is a feature that I just don't understand its implementation with the way that the game is currently. So I asked the first question, will this feature work on dungeon grade gear? And I think that's an important one because, I mean, how often are we going to break down? I don't see us crafting gear to then break it down again. Sure, it says it's for unwanted items, but what if those unwanted items are dungeon grade? That's really what I want to know, if we're going to be able to break down unwanted dungeon gear. Something to do with it other than trading in for seals, I guess. And my second question is, how do you expect this to impact the economy when materials are already overabundant? Now, obviously, they're probably not going to answer a question about the economy tanking because of this. They're probably not going to answer that. So that's why I said, how do you expect it? And it's true, though. We already have such an overabundance of materials in the economy right now that are sorely lacking a major use. And I kind of would have liked to see a feature more. I mean, obviously, item synthesis is the feature that is supposed to remove the materials and put actual results into the economy. And there's not enough of that, I think, to really offset how much of those lower level materials that you need for things. So I'm just wondering how they're expecting this to really impact the already overabundance of items in the economy. So moving on from that, though, next was about dungeons. We actually found out what the 3 new dungeons are going to be. The new dungeon altogether is going to be called Hullbreaker Isle, which I believe is an island in Lenosha. I know they said it was in the Fate, but I think I know where it is. I'll definitely have to hop in game and check it out sometime. Check out my maps and look around. I'm almost sure I know where that is. And then our 2 hard modes are Tamtara Deepcroft, which I didn't see coming, and Stone Vigil, which I'm very excited for. Stone Vigil is one of the better made dungeons in the during the leveling process. I don't expect the hard mode to be all that challenging. Just because, I mean, also just people who are geared in full I-90 will probably never be challenged by these new hard mode dungeons coming out. But hey, I'm open to be surprised. So my first question here was, will these 3 dungeons be added to the expert duty roulette? Now, obviously, I look at the high level duty roulette, and there were 5 dungeons in there. You know, Amdapor, Keep, Wanderer's Palace, Pharaoh Sirius, and then we had the first 2 hard modes, which I haven't done in so long. Hawk Manor and Copperbell? Yeah, those are in the high level ones. So I'm assuming this will add a little bit more options to the expert duty roulette. I don't think we're going to get a whole new roulette just for these 3 dungeons. So that was my first question. My second question is, will these dungeons contain a new set of item level 70 gear for vanity or for newer players? I mean, I say it's for vanity because obviously I'm somebody who's well geared and has access to higher item level gear. But I mean, there are newer players out there that do like to get these upgrades while they are farming for mythology. And it's just a good thing to ask. And also just for vanity's sake, if I get these in the expert roulette, it's not going to share loot tables with the hard modes that we got in patch 2.2. That's really all that I'm checking. And I know people love vanity, so those are really the only 2 questions I could think to ask for these based on the expectations, based on prior hard mode and new dungeon implementations. Now, the next thing was on the Zodiac quest, which is actually going to be out in 2.28. Since we can ask questions about them here on May 24th, I'm assuming 2.28 will not hit until sometime after May 24th. Probably the Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday after May 24th, whichever day that may be. I don't have a calendar handy. So, yeah, not doing addition right now. But anyway, I really had 2 questions that I absolutely had to ask. These 2 popped into my head immediately. The first one was, since feedback on the prior 2 quests, Atma and Animus, was the reason that the Novus upgrades were held back, what changes have been made from how the Novus quest was originally designed to its current implementation? I want to know how they used our feedback, and I feel like this is something they should be comfortable talking about. Was it more grind heavy? Was it more RNG focused? Was there something about there must have been something about this that they thought players would disagree with majorly, just based on how the Atma and Animus quests were playing out. And that players probably wanted something a little bit different from the previous 2 quests. So I really want to know how our feedback affected the changes on the Zodiac quest. I think that's a fair request. And the second one was, and I got a little bit ahead of myself on this, I will be honest, will Daily Hunts, Primals, Coil, or Crystal Tower have any part in the upgrades after the Animus weapon as it increases in item level? This really wasn't geared towards the Novus, which is our next upgrade, because Daily Hunts will be out in 2.3, and the next upgrade is going to be in 2.28, so I got ahead of myself here. But I think asking about Primals, Coil, or Crystal Tower, again, something not planned for 2.3, but we do have the old one we can go to, have any part in any of the upgrades. I'm more or less asking about the Zodiac in the future in this one. And I just want to know, with all these different types of content out there, if they're going to do something to bring a little bit more life back into those, similar to how they did it with Fates. But I don't know, Treasure Hunt and Daily Hunts for me were a lot more interesting. And I would rather see Sphere Scrolls tied into these somehow, along with Primals, Coil, and Crystal Tower in some way. I'd much rather see them tied into those pieces of content than just, I guess, Fates. I guess I'm just trying to avoid wanting anything to do with Fates for this Novus questline. Now, next we had Ramu, the Lord of Levin. He's going to be the new Primal in patch 2.3. We've been expecting this for a long time. He said, I think, even back in 2.1, live letter maybe 2 or 3 ago, He said that Ramuh and Shiva would be coming next, and he said Ramuh should be next, and then he said Shiva ... and he didn't actually comment on when Shiva was coming. So I guess I was sort of expecting Ramuh for this patch for a long time. So I had 3 questions for Ramuh, and these are really my last 3 big questions. The first one was, will Ramuh drop accessories? We are lacking in itemization in that department right now, especially rings. I realize I took a little bit of an assumption here that Ramuh would be item level 110 items. It's just really based on, again, the trending for 2.0 into 2.1, where 2.0 kind of was 70, 80, and then the extremes were the 90. Obviously, the weapons didn't match the best weapons in the game, but they did drop accessories as well that were comparable to coil level accessories and, of course, mythology level. So I want to know if these are going to have accessories that are also on par with coil and soldiery, obviously upgraded soldiery, but that's really the thing I guess we'll have to find out on. And the second question is, will he drop a lightning-themed horse mount? I had to know. I mean, we have a horse mount for every other primal. I just want a quick yes or no. I'm assuming there is and that they'll show it off, but I guess more horsies. I was originally going to phrase the question, will he drop a thunder pony? And then I decided to make it a little bit more professional. And question number 3, will Ramuh be featured in a quest line alongside Leviathan and Moggle to obtain a weapon, similar to Titan, Ifrit, and Garuda? Now, I asked that for pretty much the same reason that I asked, just pretty much for the same reason I asked drop accessories, because I think that him just dropping weapons similar to Leviathan, it'll be nice for those who, you know, haven't been able to get turn 7 weapons, haven't been able to get a tidal wave weapon, haven't been able to you know, work on turn 8 or get their animus weapon. There's plenty of weapons in the game right now, and I don't know that we need any more. Maybe another item level 110 weapon to add a little bit of itemization outside of the Sand of Time plus unidentified tombstone. It also free up people from using Sands of Time and using them more on bodies and legs and waist and things like that. So I just want to know if there's going to be another primal quest line similar to the one we had in 2.1, a weekly quest line to get weapons, while Ramuh pretty much will drop accessories exclusively along with mounts and maybe some other things. Yeah, so those were all the questions I really had for most of the content. There was one last area that I didn't really have many questions for. I'm not big on the whole vanity thing. I always wear the newest gear when it comes out, and then when it's not new anymore, I'll probably put it on my retainer for ventures or something like that. So the lead designer, actually, we have questions for him. And when they say lead designer, they mean for outfitting, you know, the way enemies look, the way gear looks, the way emotes look, hairstyles. He's in charge of things like that. And really, the only thing I wanted to know is, when deciding an overall theme for a set of gear, where do you draw your inspiration from? I really just wanted to have a question for this topic. It's not like I'm going to be a designer and I want to know, but I'm sure there are people out there who would like to know, people who want to be in game design and are looking for the more aesthetic parts of game design that would probably like to know something like that, so I figured I'd ask it anyway. So anyway, guys, go ask your questions on the official forums as well. Again, link is in the description below. Feel free to discuss my questions, not on the forums, discuss them in the video. I feel like those forums are not for discussion, they're for asking questions, so don't use them for that. So, but anyway, guys, what do you guys think about this topic? Are you guys going to be watching live when the live letter comes out? You're just going to be following Twitter, or you're just going to wait for a video maybe later in the day, because you know I'm going to be doing one of those. Anyway, like, favorite, subscribe, and share for more Final Fantasy XIV information. Be sure to like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter to get regular updates about when things like this are going on, and for regular videos as well. You can, of course, follow me on Twitch, where I do live stream Final Fantasy XIV, Final Fantasy X I've been streaming a little bit lately, and I might even stream a little bit of some other things to surprise you guys. But anyway, thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.